In this training session, we're going to take a look at what's new with Google, things that are new within the last year or so, probably since we've met last to talk about Google. Some of the things you may have seen before, some of the things you may have not. I'm going to go pretty fast because I have 15 minutes or less to get all this in, and there's a lot to discuss. So we're going to start with Google Drive, and the biggest thing in Google Drive is actually in Google Team Drive, which is now called Shared Drive, and that's really the only change. It still functions the same way, it's just called Shared instead of Team. The other thing that you're going to notice is Priority. There's a little box here with a check in it that says Priority. Priority shows files that Google's system rates as relevant for recent or upcoming work, such as files that you've opened or edited recently, files shared with you that someone else edited, or files that might be related to an upcoming meeting. So if you click on Priority, you will see things that probably you have recently went to or done recently. There's also this Create Workspace, which is kind of new, and here you can create a place for your most important files. So this is kind of like Starred, but gives you a different option there. Now we're going to switch over to Google Docs. There are a few new things in Google Docs that I want to point out, and the first thing that we're going to look at is Insert Drawing. So if you want to insert a drawing, all you have to do is go to Insert and Drawing, and you have two options, either New or From Drive. I'm going to show you New first. New basically opens up Google Draw so that you can come in and you can add things like shapes, and you can create, this is kind of like Microsoft Paint used to be. It's just a little different. You can add your text in and, you know, put in, this is a square, or whatever it is that you need to put in here, and you can move those things around and edit them to make kind of custom images if you need to do that. Once you have done that, you also have the option of inserting drawings from Google Drive. So this is actually one that I created in Google Drive for a sign that we were making for the Media Center. You can see that there are some other things in here from other things that I've worked on. So if I click on this, it's just going to, actually it gives you the option to link to the source, so that if you're an editor or a collaborator, you can edit this video, or you can just insert it unlinked. I'm just going to click on insert because it's just like inserting an image, but notice that it has this linked option up here. So if we wanted to go in and edit that, then we could, and what we would do is we would go into Google Draw and edit that, and then whenever we were ready, we could update this link and it would make the changes in our Google Doc. So I switched over to Google Sheets on you, but I want to show you this tool that can be used in Google Docs or Sheets or Slides or anything there. If you go to Tools and you go down to the very bottom to Activity Dashboard and click on that, you actually have the ability to see anyone who has actually accessed this document and when they have accessed it. So you can see that for our phone list here that recently April Sykes Brown, Gina Bland, Tara Akins has all viewed this document. There are some others under ECHS, but this is valuable if you want to see who all is actually looking at and paying attention to the documents that you put out there. I'm going to tell you about this next little addition, and I don't necessarily want you to use it because I don't know that it's going to be beneficial for us as we're trying to move more towards Google Docs and away from Word, but Google has now made it to where you can edit Microsoft Office documents in Google Drive. So this is the work order instructions, and you can tell that it's a Word document. If I open it up, I have the option to open with Google Docs, and I can go in and I can actually edit the things that are on this sheet. Now notice, okay, it's going to pop up and want to give me the tour, welcome to Office Editing, and I can take this tour and it will tell me all of the things that it does. You can see that it still has this .doc extension in blue up here, and that lets me know that I am editing that in Microsoft and not necessarily Google. I can convert it to docs and make changes and save it back as a Microsoft document, just like I would a Google Doc, and it's sharing settings. So keep in mind that that's an option. I would prefer that everything just stay in Google Docs to start with, and you would work with it from there, because this could get confusing for some people, but know that it's an option. So another new handy dandy tool is the ability to link content. This specifically seems to be applicable when you're talking about a spreadsheet. So this is an old spreadsheet from when we had a luau over the summer, and I'm just going to highlight everything, copy it, and then go into a Google Slides, and I'm going to paste that into a a Google Slides. I could also do this into a Google Doc or something along those lines, but whenever I start to paste, it asks me if I want to link to the spreadsheet or paste unlinked. If I link to the spreadsheet and click paste, what's going to happen is it's going to put that information in here, and of course I would want to make that look a little nicer. But if I went over into the actual spreadsheet and I wanted to change Lisa Smoke to also having desserts, I'm going to add that in here. It's going to save all my changes in Drive, but of course if I go back over to my Google Sheets, that's not going to show up there because it happened at a later time. However, if I have linked it, I have a little update button. You can kind of see it there. If I click on update, it will go and pull that new information in from the spreadsheet and put it into my presentation, which is great if you're working on things with other people and you need to continually update your data. This next one is something that a lot of you have been asking for, and has finally been released. Unfortunately, it still hasn't rolled out to us yet, but it is adding audio to a Google Slides presentation. When this becomes active, and it should be very soon, all you're going to have to do is go up to Insert, find Audio, and we don't have audio in here just yet. But when we do, all you'll have to do is choose audio and choose the file from your Google Drive that you want to play, and it will play for you in your Google Slides presentation. This next tip comes from Gmail, and it has to do with the side panel that allows you to see calendar, keep, and tasks. You may also see Trello in here as well. This can be toggled back and forth with a little arrow that's down here at the bottom of your Gmail, and it's actually pretty helpful if you are trying to schedule something in as far as a meeting in Calendar. As you're looking at an email, all you have to do is click on the calendar button. It pops up your calendar so that you can kind of see what's going on there, and helps you to be able to schedule meetings and that kind of thing. The other thing that's here is Keep. If you're interested in using Keep, it's a little bit different. It's kind of like Evernote for those of you who have used that before. But my favorite is probably Tasks here. Tasks allows you to create basically to-do lists. So you can see that I have an ECHS to-do list, and I have different things that, if I was doing what I was supposed to, probably would be to come in and check and make sure that these things are done on a daily basis, or things that maybe I should have done or needed to do and maybe not checked off my list. You can see I have completed down here so that I can look back and make sure that I've done all of the things that I thought I needed to do. I can have as many different to-do lists as I want to have. So it's kind of handy dandy to be able to have that if you're a list maker. In Google Calendar, and actually in all of your Google products, there is a new button that is at the top of each one of those things, whether it's Google Docs, Slides, Calendar, you name it. It is the question mark with the circle around it, and it is the support button. This is actually better than what help is in most different applications or software packages. If you click on it, it will give you the option to get help, find training, look at updates, and also to send feedback if you have suggestions or want things to work differently. Google does listen to these things. I've used this a number of times, and when you do this, if Google actually helps you do one of the things that you suggest, you'll get an email from Google to let you know that they actually did it, which is pretty cool. So if you're wanting to use Calendar but you still have questions, you can actually go to help, or you can choose training, and it will take you to the training page with all kinds of awesome step-by-step instructions and get you where you need to be. So I probably should have shown this to you a minute ago when we were talking about tasks, but I want to go back to Gmail, and actually I guess you can get to it in Drive too, I just noticed. I'm going to that little bar that has the calendar, the keep, and the tasks, and I've opened up tasks, and what I'm going to do is create a new task, and I'm going to call it make training a video, and I can click on this little edit details. And what's cool about this is not only does it help me to make a list, but I can also add a date and a time. So if I wanted to, make this training video tomorrow at 9 a.m., or if I needed it to repeat, I could do that. And what it would do is give me a cool list with reminders at certain times. One of the coolest things in Google Calendar that I hope we start using more of is the ability to add a Hangouts Meet and attachments directly into a calendar invite. I would strongly encourage you to start using calendar invites for anything that you want other people to be at. It would be, in my opinion, great if every time we had a meeting with an administrator or as a department or whatever, we had a calendar invite. Emails get lost and you have to write down, invitations and that kind of thing. But if you go to create, you can add an event in calendar and invite people. If I go to more options, I see all of the things that I can do. But to me, the coolest thing is that if I wanted to do video conferencing, all I have to do is add conferencing and Hangouts Meet, and it's going to put a link to a meet. And so if you have a video camera and a microphone hooked up to your computer, which most of you do with your document cameras, you'd be able to join that meeting automatically. You also have the ability to add in attachments. So if we knew that we were going to be discussing a certain document, maybe this untitled presentation that I made a few minutes ago, I can add that in there and say, please review this before our meeting, or we are going to be going over this in our meeting. That way everyone in the meeting has all the documents that they need, and we can also see each other and hear each other face to face if we do the Google Meets. We're going to switch back over to Gmail for a moment, and we're going to look at composing a new email. Some of you may have noticed that as you type an email, you will see the suggestions that pop up. And based on your writing and how you do things, Google's going to recognize those and give you suggestions that maybe you want to use. To me, these are pretty cool. To other people, these are a little bit annoying. If you want to use the suggestion, which I often do, all you have to do is hit the space bar. Hit Tab on your keyboard, and it will go ahead and add that information in there to your email, which is pretty cool, I think. We also have the ability to have smart reply. So if someone were to send me an email like I sent this email to myself, obviously, if it asked a question in this email, it may not be a good example here. So in this one, someone has asked me a question, and I can say, I don't think so, done, or not that I know of. It automatically populates that, and all I have to do is click send if I wanted to do that. Now, if I also wanted to send this email later, whether it's a reply or an email that I created from scratch, if I don't want to send it right now, this little drop down arrow is the schedule send button, and it gives me some options for times that I may want to send this out later, or I can pick a custom date and time, and when I click schedule send, it will put it in drafts, and then it will send it whenever I asked it to send. Another cool addition in Gmail is the ability to snooze an email. If you hover over an email without opening it, you notice you have some options here: archive, delete, mark as unread, and snooze. So if I wanted to snooze this, I can choose what time I want this to snooze to, or I can choose a specific date and time. So I can do this at 9:30, 9:27, and click save, and it takes it out of my inbox, but it pops it back up at the time that I chose it to come back in. So you see it popped in at 9:27. That's a great way to get things out of your email, but bring it back when you need to address it. Taking a look at the new features in Google Classroom, when you open up Google Classroom and create a new class, you'll see that there's probably a pop-up or two that's going to tell you some things, and the first one that pops up for me is new improvements to classwork. The classwork page is now more flexible. You can now filter to a single topic on the page. Posts to classwork in new classes will now post to the top. If you say got it, it may give you another one or two. On the stream area here, some things that are kind of new is that you have the ability to select different themes. There are 78 different themes, and they're different than they used to be. Also, if you look kind of here under the title in the left-hand corner of the theme, top left-hand corner, you'll see where it has the class code that is shown there and a little box there. If you click on it, it's the display box. It makes it larger if you're in class and you're trying to get students to join using the code. That box appears again down in the bottom right hand corner, and you can make that full screen, and that is helpful in many instances. Also, if you click on the gear icon, that will take you to the settings, or the class settings, where you can change your class details, class description section, all of those kinds of things. This is also where you can change your class code if you need to. Choose whether or not you want students to be able to post or comment, and the classwork stream showing condensed notifications. You may want to hide notifications or show attachments in detail. This is kind of a new thing here as well. And then of course there are some other things here that you can see that you can set for the class in general. Under the classwork section in Google Classroom, there are a few new things here. When you are creating a topic, you have the ability to move the topic to the top of the page. You have the ability to filter for single topics, and you have the ability to move posts and topics on the classwork page simply by clicking and dragging them if you wanted to do that. In my opinion, creating topics is a really cool way to help keep you organized and your students organized. I have created a topic called training in association with this assignment. However, if I wanted to create a new topic, all I have to do now is go to create and topic and put in tests and add, and that will give me the option to have tests and training over here. If I want to see just tests, I can click on that and you can see that I have nothing there. And if I click on training, I'll see all the training, and I only have one thing there just for this demonstration. Notice also that I have a pop-up that says drag and drop classwork. This is what I was telling you about. You can move these things. If I had multiple things, I could just click and drag them up or down and move them into place. There's really not a change under people that we need to worry about, but if you click on grades, you'll see that there's a little message here that says set up your grading system and choose if you want students to see their overall grades. To customize your grading options, go to class settings and grades. If I click next, then I can actually go in and do those things. Also notice that, or you may have heard that there's a beta test going on for syncing with your SIS. In our case, that would be the Student Information System would be Infinite Campus. Nothing works as far as that goes yet. We are not part of the beta test. They are still working on that on a nationwide thing, but eventually it may be actually possible for you to have grades go from Google Classroom into Infinite Campus. Now, keep in mind that will not be a silver bullet, an easy one-click thing. There will be some setup and some back-end things you have to do in order to make that work the way that you want it to. So don't think that when that happens, it's just going to be an easy one-click thing. If we go out to the Classroom dashboard, we can actually turn notification settings on or off by class. I'm going to click on the three lines here, and I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to settings. If I click on settings, it will open up the notifications section here. And this is where I can turn settings on or off. Now be careful with this, because if you turn all your settings off, you won't ever know if a student asks you a question or comments on something or something along those lines. So some of these you want to keep on. You may actually want to keep all of them on. Sometimes it gets annoying, but you have those options there as well. If for some reason you did want to turn all of the notifications on or off for a particular class, you can do that here under Classroom Notifications, and you can just toggle these on or off.